I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Marie Waxel. Right now, COVID cases are surging once again. Positivity rates are creeping higher, but unlike past surges, not many people are ending up in hospitals.
WAAY 31's Matt Kroschel spoke with a doctor over at Synergy Wellness Clinic about the current positivity rates here in Madison County and what's different about this surge compared to years past. Matt.
Dan, Marie, what we do know is that we are seeing those COVID positive rates increasing, but the good news in all of this is that people just don't seem to be getting as sick as we've seen in the past with surges happening here in North Alabama. But a lot of cases are going unreported because people are doing so much testing at home, those results just not making their way to the official count. Here at Synergy Wellness Clinic, the post-Memorial holiday wave seems to already be happening right now. There's more positive cases in Alabama than we had in all of 2020. With 6 months left to go in the year, doctors not sure if this is rising positivity rates will continue rising or level off.
Well, we're definitely seeing an uptick in numbers. What's different is they do not appear to be as sick as they were last year or even this past January.
So since a lot of those cases are not being reported, doctors not exactly sure just how widespread the community transmission is. I'm told entire families are coming back from their beach vacations and the entire family is testing positive. So coming up at 6, we explore the toolbox that doctors have now that they didn't have back in 2020 when the pandemic started, and some of the new tools they're able to use. In specific, one tool that they are using, and they would like more people to access that health care. We break it down for you coming up at 6. For now, live in Huntsville, Matt Kroschel, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Matt. As case numbers increase across the country, the CDC is doubling down on its authority to issue a mask mandate for U.S. travelers. The agency asked an appeals court to reverse a district court's April decision that blocked the federal government from implementing the mask mandate nationwide. The CDC argues masks are an effective way to prevent the spread of communicable diseases.
We are taking a live look above Decatur now from our WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network. Another hot day across the region, but there is some relief on the way. Let's check in with WAAY 31 Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna.
She's in the Storm Tracker Weather Center now monitoring some potential rain and a few storms in our future. Kate?
Yeah, we've got those rain chances increasing for tomorrow. That's because a cold front is on its way, which means that today is our last really kind of hot and humid day for at least a little bit. But you heard Dan kind of rattle off a couple of temperatures earlier. Yeah, we're at 91 degrees right now in Huntsville and in Scottsboro, 86 in Guntersville, 90 in Athens and Decatur and Muscle Shoals. You really feel that humidity today. There's not a lot of a breeze, so the heat is something that is definitely felt the second that you step outside. Now look all across the WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Skycam network, and you'll see the clouds trying to build in the distance here in a couple of locations, but we don't have a lot of activity on the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network. I do want to pull a little bit farther toward the west here, and you're going to be able to see areas that are mainly out towards northeast Mississippi, a couple of showers there. So as we go through the rest of this evening, there's still that 20% chance for a shower, maybe a rumble of thunder, but most locations are going to be staying dry. That is changing in a big way. Widespread rain and storms by this time tomorrow with that cold front. That's what I'm tracking for you coming up.
Thanks, Kate. And with the risk of storms in our future, make sure you're prepared by downloading the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Weather app. It'll alert you to any watches or warnings issued for your neighborhood. It's free for Apple and Android devices.
New details this afternoon on a deadly boating accident in Lauderdale County. It happened on Pickwick Lake near Patton Island Bridge in Florence this morning. Alabama law enforcement officials say 2 men from Colorado Springs were in a flat-bottom boat when it hit a pillar on the bridge and capsized. They identified the victim as 79-year-old James Busha. 70-year-old Gerald Busha was taken to the hospital for treatment. A Rogersville man is dead after a wreck in Lauderdale County. State troopers say Kevin Jordan died when the car he was driving left the road and hit a utility pole. It happened around 6:30 last night on US 72, about 5 miles west of Rogersville. Authorities are still working to determine what caused that crash.
Happening now, the search enters a second day for a Madison bank robbery suspect. Take a look at him right now. Authorities say he went into the Regions Bank near the intersection of 72 and Wall Triana Highway Tuesday and told people he had a small package that was in fact a bomb. Well, authorities say that package was later determined not to be a bomb or any other type of explosive. If you recognize the suspect or have any information about that crime, call police. One person is facing charges in connection with a Huntsville shooting. Police arrested this man, Tyler Mclaughlin, charging him with aggravated assault. We brought you this as breaking news yesterday. Authorities say the shooting happened at a business on Greenbrier Parkway around 5 yesterday evening. Police say Mclaughlin left the scene and called them from a nearby fire department. One victim was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. New information now on the Texas school massacre. Still more questions than answers more than a week after that shooting.
More funerals took place today for the victims as we learn more details about what happened inside that school. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
As final farewells continue for the 21 victims killed in the Uvalde school massacre, details surrounding the shooting changing day by day.
It's been very disheartening to see just the changes in information, seeing how there are some public officials unwilling to talk to law enforcement. It's all been very, very disturbing.
Questions about how the gunman entered the school. Authorities originally said a teacher left a door propped open. After the teacher's lawyer disputed it, a spokesman for the Texas Department of Public Safety conceded the teacher did close the door, but it did not lock as designed. Texas officials then confirmed that in a reversal of their previous comments. There are also growing questions about the cooperation of the Uvalde City and school police departments with state investigators. The Texas Department of Public Safety said the departments have been cooperating, but also said school police chief Pete Arredondo has not responded for days to a request for a follow-up interview. The school district says it has and will continue to work with law enforcement who are investigating the event and will not comment until the investigation is complete. Governor Greg Abbott requesting a special legislative committee to review school safety, mental health, social media, police training, and firearm safety. There's no specific mention of reviewing access to guns, even as calls grow louder for gun control across the country.
This is not stopping. This is not going away until Congress acts.
A bipartisan legislative group is working on potential gun measures, and a House Judiciary Committee is set to hold an emergency hearing on gun control bills on Thursday. Meantime, as those young students continue to grieve their classmates, the Uvalde School District has announced they will not go back to the Robb Elementary School campus. Officials now working on a plan for them to attend other schools. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Today, a grand jury indicted the white 18-year-old accused of shooting and killing 10 black people at a Buffalo supermarket with domestic terrorism motivated by hate. Peyton Gendron is also charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. He's been in custody since the May 14th shooting and is scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow.
New at 4, a federal judge gave his final blessings for full freedom for the man who shot President Ronald Reagan in 1981. U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman noted John Hinckley was profoundly troubled when he shot Reagan, adding he was able to get mental health help. Back in September, the judge said he would free Hinckley from all remaining restrictions on June 15th, as long as Hinckley continued to do well.
New video just in of an alligator sighting near a popular Madison County lake and walking trail. Take a look at this. Anaya Adams spotted this big old boy on her morning walk. This is at Lady Ann Lake off Zert Road. She recorded the big gator slowly moving along, crossing the sidewalk there, and you can see it paid her no attention as it headed away from the water. Yikes. Time now 4:09. War raging on overseas. The U.S. sending new weapons to Ukraine as Russian forces continue their offensive.
And new developments in the investigation into the January 6th Capitol riot. The House Select Committee giving one lawmaker more time before he has to talk.
And WAAY 31 Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, clouds are building. We're not seeing much rain today, but that is changing tomorrow with an approaching cold front. That's what I'm tracking coming up.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
New information, President Biden has now agreed to send advanced mobile artillery rocket systems to Ukraine as part of a new $700 million U.S. aid package.
This package comes as Russian forces continue to make gains in their war against Ukraine. ABC's Faith Abube is in Washington with more on the promise Ukraine had to make to the U.S. before President Biden approved delivery of the new weapons.
Tonight, the Biden administration trying to even the battlefield in Russia's bloody war against Ukraine. President Biden confirming in a New York Times op-ed that the U.S. will send a new round of advanced weapon systems to help Ukrainian forces fight back against Russian troops. The $700 million aid package includes sophisticated mid-range artillery rocket systems that can hit targets just under 50 miles away.
Now you can put that rocket within a 20 to 30 foot circle. And so that precision was going to give the Ukrainians the ability to target things very precisely.
Russia unhappy with that news, firing back, telling local news agency Interfax that the U.S. is purposefully and meticulously adding fuel to the fire by arming Ukraine with this mid-range missile system. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov reportedly adding that the U.S. is pursuing the course towards fighting Russia. But the Biden administration insisting it doesn't want a direct conflict. The president writing, quote, "We're not encouraging or enabling Ukraine to strike beyond its borders."
The Ukrainians have given us assurances that they will not use these systems against targets on Russian territory.
On the front lines, Kremlin troops storming Severodonetsk. As many as 13,000 civilians were reportedly trapped. Russian shelling putting evacuation attempts at risk. Video shared by Russian state media shows the Kremlin soldiers in the city center as part of a larger effort to seize control of the Donbass region. Despite making inroads in eastern Ukraine, some analysts say Russia is not achieving its goals.
They're tactical. These are not strategic moves. So it's still quite the stalemate.
And as the war rages on, President Biden says despite Russia's dangerous and extremely irresponsible rhetoric, there is currently no indication that it plans to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. But if it does, there will be severe consequences. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
Ukraine's General Prosecutor Office says at least 243 children died since Russia invaded Ukraine. Nearly 450 others were injured. Nearly 2,000 schools in the country are damaged. 200 of them are destroyed. The figures are not final as officials work to assess the full amount of damage across the country.
You're taking a live look at our nation's capital this afternoon. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot told Representative Jim Jordan it still expects him to comply with its subpoena. The committee is giving him extra time to do so, extending its original May 27th deadline to June 11th. Just last week, Jordan responded to the committee's subpoena by contesting its constitutionality and outlining a list of demands the panel must meet in order for him to even consider moving forward. Jordan is one of 5 House Republicans, including Congressman Mo Brooks, the committee subpoenaed last month as part of its investigation. We spoke with Brooks yesterday, who told us if he's going to appear before the, quote, witch hunt committee, it needed to be done in public where everybody can see what he has to say.
Well, some good news for job seekers. There are a lot of openings out there for you. The Labor Department says for every unemployed person seeking work, there are nearly 2 job openings. That's the exact opposite of what we saw in early 2000s until 2017. The report also found the number of employees being fired or laid off has hit the lowest point on record. On Wall Street, the month of June is off to a bumpy start for financial markets. Investors continue to fret about the Fed raising interest rates to slow the economy and rein in high inflation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 177 points. The Nasdaq Composite Index lost 87 points, and the S&P 500 finished off 31 points.
The 2022 Atlantic hurricane season is now underway. NOAA's predicting above average hurricane activity this year. It attributes that to higher than normal Atlantic Ocean temperatures and the ongoing La Nina, a Pacific Ocean climate pattern that can affect the entire globe. If those forecasters are right, it would make 2022 the 7th straight above average hurricane season.
we are going to be ready. FEMA is preparing. We prepare year-long for hurricanes, but any natural weather event. We're going to continue to lean forward and make sure that we're moving our resources and our people in place before a storm makes landfall.
NOAA expects a likely range of 14 to 21 named storms, with 6 to 10 possibly becoming hurricanes. Again, hurricane season runs now through November 30th.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist Kate McKenna.
Well, it's been another mainly quiet day in North Alabama, but a hot one. Temperatures a degree or two hotter today than yesterday, at least so far. We're at 91 degrees in Huntsville, 90 in Decatur and Muscle Shoals, 91 in Scottsboro. So a good excuse to maybe head to the lake, find a way to cool down, as long as you can do so safely. You know, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network still showing a fairly quiet picture for us. I've watched the clouds kind of building on my drive into work today, but we have not seen much in the way of activity aside from maybe a stray shower here and there across our area. But look farther to the northwest and you'll see this line of thunderstorms from Memphis up toward Jackson. I'll be watching this area for you because this is an area that can see some stronger storms through this evening into the first part of tonight, but we see most of that activity collapsing before it's actually able to move into northwest Alabama. So tonight it does stay mostly clear. It's warm, 70 degrees is our forecast low. We've got a calm wind to go along with that as well. Let me take you through the rest of this afternoon, through this evening, and through tonight, because remember, our big active weather day is going to be tomorrow, and we can see that activity pick up early in the day. So through the rest of this afternoon and evening, this data source may be overdoing the storm coverage a little bit based on what we've seen so far. Regardless, as we go through early tomorrow morning, notice that activity kind of fizzling off to our northwest, and then we're left with a stray shower here and there early in the day, but the rain chance is not zero. Then by 1 o'clock, we start to have some showers and storms firing up along the cold front. Notice the activity that continues through 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Now all the way through 9 o'clock, still some lingering showers and storms, but by the time you wake up on Friday, all of this is out of here. That cold front will have cleared the area. We'll still have some remaining cloud cover, but generally speaking, Friday is going to be quieter and much nicer. There is the chance for a stronger storm tomorrow. It's a marginal risk, a level 1 out of 5 on the scale from the Storm Prediction Center. Our main concern, it's going to be gusty, perhaps damaging wind with any of the strongest storms that do roll through. So tomorrow looks like this. There is the slightest chance for a shower early in the morning. It's just very low, but as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, rain chances are spiking. Temperatures tomorrow should make it into the mid to upper 80s before the front gets here. And in total, we're looking at 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of rain. And our 7-day forecast shows, I told you it's nicer by Friday. 82 degrees is your forecast high. We'll be right back. We have a breaking news update just into our WAAY 31 newsroom this afternoon. We now know 4 people were hurt in a stabbing and cutting incident in Huntsville. HMZ reports 3 females and 1 male were taken to the hospital. Their injuries ranging anywhere from critical to serious condition. This happened just over an hour ago at the intersection of Academy Drive and Maston Lake Road. Huntsville police say the suspect is a black man who left the area in a maroon Jeep Patriot. We do have a reporter at the scene to gather the very latest details. Of course, as they're released, we will pass them along to you right here and on WAAYTV.com.
New at 4, Tesla CEO Elon Musk is demanding the electric car company's office workers return to in-person work or leave the company. The new policy was disclosed in leaked emails Musk sent to Tesla's executive staff. He wrote, anyone who wants to do remote work must be in the office for at least 40 hours a week or, quote, depart Tesla. Musk said he would personally review any requests for exemption.
Well, prom, first dates, learning to drive, college applications, all activities that often shape American teenage years. But could an increase in mental health challenges be overshadowing the typical teenage experience? Here's ABC's Justin Finch.
Although mental health challenges have been common for many during the pandemic, our youth appear to be particularly vulnerable. The proportion of pediatric emergency department visits for mental health conditions increased in 2020, prompting numerous pediatric medical organizations to declare a national emergency for children's mental health in 2021. Further evidence of the growing problem released in a CDC report. The proportion of emergency department visits for girls ages 12 to 17 doubled for eating disorders and almost tripled for tic disorders since the pandemic began. Medical experts say eating disorder signs and symptoms may vary. People of any weight or size can be diagnosed with eating disorders. Additionally, both binge eating and restrictive eating patterns can also be seen. Some other signs to watch for: dramatic weight fluctuations and long bathroom trips that can disguise purging behavior. Tic disorders include involuntary twitches, movements, or sounds. Both eating and tic disorders can occur with anxiety, depression, and OCD. Talk to your teen if you see signs of any of these conditions and help them follow up with a doctor. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
A push for more mental health resources.
The goal? To help those who risk their lives to keep us safe. We'll explain next.
Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News starts now.
Breaking news now in Florence. One man is in surgery, another in custody after a shooting. Florence police say that shooting took place behind a Dollar General on Huntsville Road. The shooting suspect cooperated with officers and is currently being questioned. So far, information on the suspect's name, possible charges, or the victim's condition have not been released.
Improving mental health among those who risk their lives to keep us safe. The recent push to help law enforcement deal with the stress of the job.
Plus, the number of COVID-19 cases increasing across the U.S. and right here in North Alabama. We'll take a closer look at the latest numbers.
And another hot afternoon across North Alabama as you take a live look above Lake Guntersville. A good day to be out on the lake, but that might not be the case tomorrow. That's where we begin this half hour. Thanks so much for staying with us for WAAY 31 News at 4:30. I'm Marie Waxel.
And I'm Dan Schaefer. We want to get straight to WAAY 31 Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna in the Storm Tracker Weather Center, monitoring these current conditions and possible storms in the future. Kate.
That's right. Those rain chances spiking for tomorrow. Something that spiked today, the temperatures. I know we're at 91 degrees right now in Huntsville, but we got our climate data in for today. We hit 93. That makes this the hottest day of the year so far. With that calm wind and all that sunshine, you're certainly feeling the heat today. On WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network showing us a couple of things different since the last time we checked in. Now, we still have a couple of showers here through the shoals, but they're just showers. Look closer to our Guntersville radar site, and you will see a couple of downpours being picked up. This is not widespread rain, but the clouds have been building today, just enough to give us some very sparse activity. Tomorrow, that is changing. Look at how the rain chances are spiking through the afternoon and evening. There's a cold front rolling through, and as that front is passing, showers and storms will be developing along and ahead of that front. That's going to make for a cooler Friday, but in between a stormy Thursday. That's what I'm tracking for you coming up.
Thanks, Kate. I want to remind you to take a moment and download the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. Just use the phone on your camera to scan the code at the bottom center of your screen. That app will alert you to any watches or warnings issued for your area. It is free for Apple and Android devices.
New at 4:30, healthy officers means a healthy community. That's what many law enforcement department leaders say as they push for more mental health resources for their officers. WAAY 31's Nicole Zedek joins us after speaking with the Madison County Sheriff's Office about how they're helping deputies deal with the stress of the job. Nicole?
Marie, our first responders are out here every single day responding to our calls for help. But the real question is, who's helping them? You know, they're answering our traumatic calls, answering these calls after hour during their shift, and it can really take a toll on them. According to Blue Help, which is a national nonprofit aimed at bringing awareness to mental health issues for first responders, 56 law enforcement officers have died of suicide this year. Now that number, it hits close to home, with a Sheffield officer committing suicide just last week. It was a jarring wake-up call for the Madison County Sheriff's Office, pushing them to add more resources for their officers who may be struggling.
The suicide rate with law enforcement is insane right now. You know, we had one just right down the road here in another county over the week. And I think that was the pushing point for Deputy Ward, that when he saw that, he's like, hey, I don't want that to happen in Madison County.
Brent Patterson says one of their deputies has been pushing for more local resources and helped start a peer support team with the department. It's a group of officers who are trained to help their fellow first responders manage the daily stress of the job. And peer support teams like that, they spread beyond Madison County. There's a statewide training program called the Alabama Law Enforcement Alliance for Peer Support. Now, I spoke with a lieutenant from the Owens Crossroad Police Department, and he just completed that training about a month ago. I'll have what he learned from it coming up tonight on WAAY 31 News at 5. Reporting live in Huntsville, Nicole Zedek, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thank you, Nicole. The Madison County Sheriff's Office also says it's important for their first responders to be trained in noticing signs of mental health issues so they can respond if needed. There's a vigil for Sheffield police officer John Nix after he took his own life last month. The vigil is Saturday night at Riverfront Park in Sheffield. Nix served with the department since July of 2017. There will be a donation box set up for anyone who wants to donate towards 2 scholarships, one named after Officer Nix, the other after fallen Officer Sergeant Nick Reisner.
Happening now, the search continues for a Madison bank robbery suspect. Here's a look at him now. Authorities say he went into the Regions Bank at the intersection of US 72 and Wall Triana Highway and told people a small package he had was a bomb. Authorities later said the package was determined not to be a bomb or any other type of explosive. If you recognize the suspect or have any information about that crime, call police. One person is facing charges in connection with a Huntsville shooting. Police arrested Tyler Mclaughlin, charging him with aggravated assault. Authorities say the shooting happened at a business on Greenbrier Parkway around 5 yesterday evening. Mclaughlin left the scene and called police from a nearby fire department. One victim was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
New details this afternoon on a deadly boating accident in Lauderdale County. It happened on Pickwick Lake near Patten Island Bridge in Florence this morning. Alabama law enforcement officials say 2 men from Colorado Springs were in a flat-bottom boat when it hit a pillar on the bridge and capsized. They identified the victim as 79-year-old James Busha. 70-year-old Gerald Busha was taken to the hospital for treatment. Staying in Lauderdale County, we know a Rogersville man is dead after a wreck last night. State troopers say Kevin Jordan died when the car he was driving left the road and hit a utility pole. It happened around 6:30 on US 72, about 5 miles west of Rogersville.
New information, the Texas Department of Public Safety is facing mounting scrutiny over their response to the Robb Elementary School shooting. As you know, 19 children and 2 teachers were killed by a gunman who entered that school on May 24th. Reports are emerging now about the Uvalde School District police chief, who may not be fully cooperating with the investigation. In the meantime, funerals continue for the victims. Gloria Pazmino has more on this story.
I just told my class, get on the ground, get on the ground, get to the corner.
Harrowing details of survival and questions. Days after a gunman entered the Robb Elementary School and opened fire inside 2 adjoining classrooms, killing 19 children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas, contradictions and shifting narratives continue to emerge about law enforcement's response. Pedro Arredondo, the Uvalde Schools police chief who led the flawed law enforcement response, seen here for the first time. According to the Department of Public Safety, Arredondo has not responded to a request for a follow-up interview with the Texas Rangers. Arredondo will only say they are talking.
I've been on the phone with them every day.
And DPS now saying the door the shooter used to enter the school was closed but not locked. That's a change from last week, when the department first said the door had been propped open by a teacher. While victims and survivors demand answers, families mourn.
I believe that Alithia would want us to be strong and that she's in a better place.
Funeral services will be held Wednesday for 10-year-old Jose Flores Jr. and Irma Garcia, one of the teachers who was killed, and her husband, who died from a heart attack days later. Visitation and rosary services will be held for Naivea Bravo, Jace Luevanos, and Jayla Nicole Silguero, all of them 10 years old. In New York, I'm Gloria Pazmino reporting.
From Texas to New York now, where a grand jury charged the 18-year-old accused of shooting and killing 10 people at a Buffalo supermarket with domestic terrorism, motivated by hate. Peyton Gendron is also charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. He's been in custody since the May 14th shooting and is scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow. That investigation into the shooting is ongoing.
The number of new COVID cases is increasing in our state. According to the state health department, Alabama's positivity rate is nearly 14%. We know more than 3,400 people tested positive within the past week. Health officials say the real number of positive cases is probably higher, but more people are using at-home tests and not reporting their positive results.
New details on the rising price of gas in our country. According to Gas Buddy, the national average is now up to $4.70 per gallon. That's up more than 50 cents from just last month. Meanwhile, Alabama's average is $4.34.
New information this afternoon. Not every school is on the same playing field. Schools in rural areas don't always have access to foreign language or other electives. And that's where Access Virtual Learning comes in. Funding through the State Department of Education, Access brings innovative courses to students that their school may not offer. And it's all done virtually and flexible with students' schedule. Forestry, for instance, a course not typically offered in rural schools, is one example of an elective course offered for students.
One of those things that you think, all right, if I go into forestry, then that means I've got to go out there and cut trees or do something like that. But they start learning in the career section of it that there are engineers, people with engineering degrees, people with science degrees, biology degrees that can go into forestry and have a good career in it.
A virtual learning option opens more doors for students. Today, Access held its Teachers' Day. 3 sessions diving into technology, engagement teaching, and mental health.
The verdict is in.
Millions of dollars headed Johnny Depp's way after the trial with his ex-wife, Amber Heard.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
New information, a jury reached a verdict in the high-profile defamation case involving Johnny Depp and ex-wife Amber Heard.
The jury siding with Depp.
Los Angeles.
Depp isn't the only public figure facing a court battle. Another woman filed a lawsuit against Deshaun Watson. It brings the number of civil suits accusing the now Cleveland Browns quarterback of misconduct, including sexual assault in some cases, to 23. Nia Smith, a professionally licensed cosmetologist in Texas, alleges she had 3 encounters with Watson starting in 2020. She said his behavior, quote, grew worse during every massage.
New details about panic on the ground as 2 pilots were reportedly sleeping in the cockpit of a plane with about 250 passengers aboard, 38,000 feet in the air. One pilot was on his designated break as the plane was above France on April 30th. The captain was supposed to be at the controls, but also fell asleep. Officials say both pilots were unresponsive for 10 minutes. Fearing the worst, French authorities were ready to scramble fighter jets to intercept the aircraft when the pilots finally woke up.
An airliner at altitude is going to stay at altitude because it's under autopilot control. That's not the worry. The worry is how long are you going to be boring a hole through the sky that is unresponsive to air traffic control.
Now, the captain claimed the radios stopped working in the cockpit, but an internal investigation reportedly revealed no issues. In a statement, ITA suggests passengers were never in danger.
New at 4:30, according to the National Autism Association, drowning is a leading cause of death for those on the autism spectrum, but they can be prevented. Erica Kemp, a pediatric occupational therapist, created a specialized one-on-one adaptive swim program to teach children on the spectrum how to swim. After receiving a grant, she hopes to expand her program with a goal to get similar courses across the country.
We use visual schedules. We have a really consistent routine and structure, but then it's also, it's individualized in that they move through different stations, and each station has a different skill that they're working on.
Kemp says the risk of drowning doesn't go away with age. In fact, it grows more and more if they don't get proper swimming lessons.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist, Kate McKenna.
Been watching the clouds build on this Wednesday afternoon. This is a view right now over Lake Guntersville on the WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Skycam network. And although you do see a lot of the clouds trying to build in the heat of the day, there's not a ton of activity around the area. We'll show you what it looks like on the radar in just a second. When I say the heat of the day, this is what I mean. Upper 80s and lower 90s. We're still at 91 degrees in Huntsville, 90 in Scottsboro, 88 in Guntersville, 90 in Muscle Shoals. We hit 93 earlier today in both Muscle Shoals and in Huntsville. And for Huntsville, that's the hottest day of the year so far. WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network showing a couple of downpours here. Let's take you on a closer view from Cullman County and then Marshall County. Around Cullman, we've had some downpours pop up within the last 20 minutes or so. And it's a very similar scene here in Marshall County where we've had a couple of downpours developing, but now they're starting to fade a little bit. Have not seen much in the way of lightning, but I am watching the storms from Jackson, Tennessee down towards Memphis there, kind of paralleling I-40. They're going to try and head toward the shoals, but we really don't see much of an impact from those storms tonight. By tomorrow, storms are back in our forecast. Temperatures tonight, they are staying warm, 70 degrees by 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's as cool as it gets. And as we go through tomorrow, you'll see how the showers and storms develop during the afternoon with the passage of a cold front. So as we go through the rest of this evening, notice any activity that we see continues to fade. And by midnight, look off to the west. See those storms in West Tennessee? Well, they really don't make much of an impact aside from just barely grazing Lauderdale County through early tomorrow morning. There's the chance for a shower early in the day, but the rain chances are increasing with this approaching cold front. Clusters of showers and storms moving through. There's 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And as we go through the rest of the evening into 9 o'clock tomorrow night, still holding on to some of that thunderstorm activity, but by the time we wake up Friday morning, it's just a little bit of lingering cloud cover and we are back to a quieter picture. Increasing thunderstorms in our forecast tomorrow, highs in the mid 80s before those storms roll through, and some of them can be on the stronger side. The Storm Prediction Center has us under a level 1 risk, so that's isolated strong to severe storms. Damaging wind would be our main concern with any of those stronger storms that develop. 7-day forecast, I told you it's nicer by Friday. 82 degrees your forecast high. We're still in the mid 80s on Saturday, and slowly but surely we're back to our kind of typical summertime pattern here in North Alabama. Highs near 90 with isolated showers and storms starting Sunday.
Survival of the fittest.
Why scientists now believe the great white sharks are behind the extinction of the megalodon.
If you've ever wondered why the giant shark megalodon went extinct, scientists now have an answer. They think the megalodon likely had to compete with the great white shark for prey. The megalodon lived more than 23 million years ago and was almost 4 times the size of the great whites we see today. These are examples of their teeth. Scientists believe the smaller-sized great whites didn't require as much food to survive, giving them the competitive edge.
The Rocket City Trash Panda is looking for their competitive edge to stay hot tonight. The teams look for its 3rd straight win in Game 2 of a 6-game series at the Chattanooga Lookouts. The boys from Madison came out on top across the state line last night with a 5-1 victory. The Trash Pandas will try to improve their Southern League best record tonight. First pitch, 6:15.
Coming up next on WAAY 31 News at 5, we're on top of breaking news out of Huntsville. 4 people hospitalized after a stabbing.
WAAY 31's Brittany Harry is live at the scene. We will check in with her at the top of the hour with the latest details.